Well, if I feel like I could sing and do Bastille Pompeii justice in this moment, I would do just that. But I'm not going to. I think that's a good place to start.
Yeah, it's a good place to start.
I love how both of you in unison are like, yeah.
Yeah, there's really no other place to start than that.
That song has always hit deep, but now it's like a whole nother layer of
level.
deepness.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll start with that story and we'll see where it goes from there. And we have a guest today as well, which I feel like we'll go into this story that we're about to tell you guys too.
For sure.
So I have a tendency to DJ.
A tendency?
A tendency. She is the DJ. She is the group DJ. Like when we're in the car, it's like, all right, Cass, let's go.
It's one of my favorite things. You guys know this. Like,
yeah.
Energy work and DJing, I'm a happy girl, but like I get tunnel vision when I DJ where it's like play this song and I can only find this one particular song, and like they're always very specific and very out there and super strange, and a lot of times Jade is like, this is a song that we play at the bar. Because I like channel my inner 60s.
Or is this Christian music?
Exactly. There's really no difference. Like there's drastic polarity on either side. So we were driving around Savannah, all of us together, which we definitely needed a together trip. And I had this sudden urge to play Pompeii by Bastille, which is 2013 is when it came out. And that led us down the rabbit hole of Jade, go.
So I started by saying, whoa, this song, I don't really listen to it very often because it really hits an emotional trigger for me. And I was in a really dark place when this song came out, and I would listen to it a lot. And then Kaylin's like, me too, when this song came out. And then Cass is like, me too, when this song came out. And then we just started kind of rolling with that. And then all of a sudden the astrologer in me was like, wait a minute. That's when the last Scorpio Taurus eclipse season was occurring, and we're just finishing one up now. And then that just led us down a rabbit hole of what was going on then in the first time it all came around in 2003. And we just started finding this. I mean, we thought we were sisters before, but now we're like, obviously.
Duh.
Duh.
This is the most divine relationship that I have ever known.
Correct. It's been orchestrated since birth and the time of conception for all of us.
The themes that were happening in all of our lives just were too distinct and obvious to ignore. And it was
I mean, especially considering like all of our charts are truly so different. We are not like the same age group, right? Like we all are separate in age. Our birthdays, Jade, your birthday and mine is closer, obviously, than ours and Cass. But even then, it's like we have so many years between us that it's like the odds of each year that this is happening, that's something big going on. We're all at different life points at each of these years. And it's like we're all having these very similar emotions that are being drummed up in us through different experiences at the same time. Like, what?
Yeah. I mean, the themes of Scorpio and Taurus all play pretty heavily in all of our charts too. So to see where that happens, but it's, it's the death, sex, money. It's like transformation, sexual energy, things that die, things that relive, live again, this financial, like not just money, but resources and power and all of those themes that play in your life. That's just so, listener, where were you in those time frames? I'm sure that you can find some themes around the same thing, but for us, they were really dark times that kind of led us into ultimately periods of transformation. and to recognize that we were together at the end of, this Scorpio Taurus season. And we've been kind of walking through a lot of darkness, I think, together personally in our own personal lives. And then just together as we're trying to find our way through what is aligned social and what will be aligned social. And just all of those themes are just, again, playing out so heavily in our lives, but we are so much more elevated than we were. And we have leveled up so much more than the last time this all went around. So it was just like revelation after revelation, right?
What's really exciting to me is when I looked back at those times and then like the immediately following, those were some of the best years of my life.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, oh, fuck yeah, like buckle in, like it's happening. Cause like, I was like, okay, 2013, absolute shit. But into 2014, that like transition, I was like, that was one of my best years. Same, of course.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh shit, it's actually I'm like, oh, it's actually happening like on time, if you will. But yeah, it's just it was fascinating to kind of backtrack and look.
I mean, best years in that, like for me, 2014 was when I actually left my ex and left the church. And so although there were a lot of hard things in that year, I felt very powerful in that year, I guess is a better way to say it. Like best year of my life being that I felt very empowered in that year. If you kind of feel that way too, Cass, like that empowered.
Yeah, 2014 was when I kind of met Tom and started to get grounded and actually like laid roots down and felt my first sense of like being at home. And there was still hard stuff in that year and crazy chaotic stuff, but it was like after not really feeling at home anywhere and then finally setting up roots and finding a home system, that was big. Like that was pivotal. Same with, at the end of the 2004 kind of cycle.
Yeah.
So yeah.
How about you, Kaylin? Same?
It was an interesting year so I got married in 2014 and moved on the opposite side of the United States from all of my friends and family and established kind of who I was in my career and really started, figuring out who I was as a wife, like all of the above. So yeah, it was definitely a foundational year.
Foundational is a good way to.
There's almost a common ties of like feminine identity in all of ours that I was just like listening to.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's fun.
Yeah. Yeah. So to play that out for this coming year, we should be so excited and really calling that in because it's already happened, So yeah.
I would love to figure out the one before 2004, 2005 area too. Cause I mean, I'm sure I was obviously a kid, but I'm just curious if there was anything else in there, like tied to soul separation or tied to family trauma or kind of tied to something of that, like wanting to go back even further.
Didn't look
like, let's keep going.
Yeah.
It'll be like, I was 2.
I don't remember any of it.
Exactly. So
it'll
be, I want to go back even further because I'm like, there's got to be another tie to it. There always like, there just seems to be. And we're still on track for May being phenomenal. It already has been, but I've said it before and I'll say it again. May is going to be pivotal and magical for us. So continuing to call that in.
And Jade, when does this round end? What's the time frame of this one that
that's the Scorpio Taurus is done.
Oh, it's done. It ended.
Make sure I'm not lying. Because is there?
But you can correct me if I'm wrong while you're looking that up in your word that I can't say because then I'll have to take a drink.
Correct. Yes. Although I do have my beverage here with me.
I do too. I think the next thing that we're rolling into is Jupiter entering Taurus, which is
that's a big deal.
Yeah. I always fuck up planets. So I'm like, I kind of know what's happening, but I'm always like a planet off or like a sign off.
Yes, that is a big deal. Yeah, that's it. We're done with that.
With
The
Scorpio.
eclipse in Scorpio Taurus. Yes. May 5th was the last one. Okay. Yes. So I think we were really utilizing collectively, the three of us, but also collectively, Jupiter and Aries being that expansion and growth in the areas of your life where you need to put yourself forward, where you need to have like a warrior like spirit and kind of push through things that are hard. But Jupiter and Taurus is like, let's look at it practically. I mean, money, there's a lot of money, Taurus there's a lot of money in there, a lot of expansion, growth for money. And then just like this groundedness and this, I love Taurus energy for that, like this ability to just feel at home in your body and, able to just really connect with the earth and the things that come from the earth. So I'm looking forward to that for sure.
Same.
Yeah.
Yes. We have time for some shaman shit. You've been going through some shaman shit. I feel like if we don't touch on it, we do our listeners a disservice.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, let's talk about my mouth. So part of the reason why we were together was because of the dental surgery. And well, the dental surgery has a part 2 coming up tomorrow because I have what is known as a combative tongue. Actually, I talked to them this morning and they were like, you just were biting down on your tongue every time we told you to bite down on the little apparatus. So we couldn't, you were going to hurt yourself. I was like, that sounds pretty fucking accurate.
Yeah.
So, it was interesting because I didn't know what side they were supposed to do. Both sides. They started on my right and could only get my right side done, the masculine side. And I think the 10,206 conversations we had over the 4 days while I was healing and while you guys were here was like the reason why they couldn't do my left side and my divine feminine side.
Mm-hmm.
Especially with like looking at what the teeth track back to and like I went deep into the text of like what they're tracking back to and what emotions tie to it and what worthiness and kind of embodiment issues tie to the teeth. So I'm like, of course you couldn't, like, of course I was not going to let you do my left.
Because, dear listener, in case you don't know, your teeth are all very much, they're tied to organs in your body, to different emotions in your body. Your mouth is the gateway.
Similar to like
the now, Jade.
What? Similar to like the meridians and chakras, they're all tied to internal organs and internal like drainage systems and lymphatic systems and endocrine systems. Every tooth has a map. Every tooth has a map, guys.
Every teeth has a map.
Yes. So if you didn't know that, you know it now. And it's a fun rabbit trail or rabbit hole to go down for sure.
I wouldn't necessarily call it fun.
Yeah.
I'm like, I didn't know that I had all these deserving and worthiness issues until this week. Like,
wasn't that fun, Kat?
No. I made a list and I think I have, I don't even know, probably 30 things on my list where I was like basically cock blocking myself from receiving stuff that I deserve due to worthiness. And I was like, I had no worthiness issues until I got my right teeth fixed. So yeah, super fun. I mean, 10 out of 10, totally enjoyed it.
I think the other thing that will be so interesting is that you went back and forth between being put under and not being put under. And that was kind of an internal battle, I feel like you went through for a few months. And now you get to do both.
I do, yes. Because God forbid Cash should do anything just solely once and just solely like pick a path and stick with it. So I did get sedated for the right side, but that was part of the problem where I was, combative and my tongue was in the way. And this time, considering I have no one there to drive me there, Kaylin's coming to pick me up, but I have no one to drive me there. I have to do it completely conscious and completely awake. So Jade, being the loving friend that she is, pulls cards surrounding like what happens if she does it awake versus what happens if she does it sedated. And I'll let you kind of tap into that because those cards were mean.
We're
so good though.
So good.
So
the
mean.
Cards that we pulled together, you and I cast before you went into the surgery for the first time, we were like, not the surgery, but the
surgery
fix. Was it? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So before you went in the first time was like the Empress and the High Priestess. And it was just like, I'm like, wow, this is great. Like, this is not going to be no thing for you. Like, you're going to just like, and you did indeed like come out of that surgery. You were like pretty much back to normal by that night, which is like completely.
Yes.
That's a whole thing.
To dinner and had
we went out to dinner.
Like,
you weren't even supposed to be coherent until the next day.
You know what's really funny is I don't really remember going out to dinner with them.
Yeah, but that's not totally out of the norm for you. They're generally, you're like, oh, I don't remember us doing that. You were like, woo, not there.
You literally came back. You didn't even, I was going to record you saying ridiculous things. You said nothing ridiculous. You gave me the address for the Airbnb. One
Wait, hold on. What was my one ridiculous thing? Is it weird
you that I'm eating rice and you had some stuck to your bottom lip and Jade and you are sitting on the couch. I'm sitting on one of the chairs. We're just kind of hanging out. I think I was doing some work and all of a sudden Cass goes,
and puts her head back.
Her head goes all the way back and she starts snoring. And it was maybe like 3 seconds.
3 seconds.
And then she sits back up and she goes, do you know where I went? And Jade and I both like smile. We're like, no. She's like, I was underground in California with Steve.
With Steve.
I don't remember that at all.
And he goes, wow, you went to California and back real quick.
And you still had rice
stuck
to your mouth.
Like 4 grains in like a clump on your bottom.
Yeah.
Super sexy.
So like 3 seconds and then set up. Oh, do you know where I went? I was underground.
It doesn't matter when you're trying to travel
underground in California.
With Steve.
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to tap back into that and see what I missed.
Yeah, so that was your only thing that you said that was even remotely funny, and that's not even weird for you. You talk like that all the time anyway.
It's true. It's so true.
What's weird about that is you fell asleep for 3 seconds.
Exactly.
You had rice stuck to your lip.
I'm sure the rice added to it.
So these were the cards, right? And they of course, because they panned out, because it's like you rode that journey like, aha, I'm fine. The next day we had a full day. Like, you were not having the recovery that they said you would have to have. But when we pulled cards around this next one, it's like, okay, you can sedate yourself, and there's going to be a lot of anxiety around that. And there's going to be a lot of feelings of abandonment and feeling alone if you sedate yourself. If you don't sedate and you just go into it with your mind fully awake, you're going to die, basically. Like a spiritual death, not, obviously not a physical death, but a spiritual death.
Twice.
Yes.
2 times.
And then you pulled for yourself and you got the same card in
third
the same
time.
Yeah. Oh, wait, that's right. It was 3 different times we pulled.
Yeah, Jade pulled twice.
Yeah.
Cass has pulled once for herself.
You're like, it's so weird.
Same spot, all 3 times.
Yeah, you're like, so weird. Got the same death card in the same anchor spot. And then I get a brand new tarot deck because the girl's name is Cassie. And I was like, well, I need to buy it, obviously. And I shuffle the hell out of it. And the first thing I pull is, beautiful expansion for today. And, finding house, finding coins, finding all this stuff. And then I was like, oh, let me pull for tomorrow. And same thing. Third middle card, anger, death.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, regardless of what tarot deck we're using, we're still gonna die.
Yeah. You're you're like, well, I die all the time. That's part of my job here on this earth as a shaman to do that. So I fully expect that you're going to have some pretty important downloads that come from that. And you're not going to feel, alone in that process.
I'm going to need to just turn on my recording on my phone for the drive back to Charlotte and just let you roll with all the things that come through.
I just hope I go back and hang out with Steve for 3 seconds and have rice on my mouth.
Yeah. Invite him in for sure.
Exactly. Be like, hey, Steve, let's go underground underneath Apple in California.
Exactly. Well, we have an exciting guest here today, so we're going to segue a little bit.
Yay.
Yay.
Megan, it's so good to have you with us today. You are just so spicy and fiery, and you've got this childlike enthusiasm and energy. So it's going to be so fun to chat with you.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm very excited to be here with you all. I feel like I'm with my people.
Yeah.
It happened again though. As we were teeing her up for the podcast, things were dropped and sprinkled in where I'm like, God damn it, we should have just hit record. Like
Every freaking time. Every time.
I know.
It doesn't fail.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you can't really say it again once it's been said or it's
No.
canned. And this is not a canned episode by any stretch of the imagination.
Mm-mm.
So something we've been doing with all our guests is before we chat with them, I give a little mini birth chart reading. And so Megan, I had an opportunity to have a really great conversation with you about you. And I just kept lighting into these very intense transits that you've had. 2014 came up, right? And then last year came up for you. And I wrote at the top, I'm looking at the notes that I wrote at the top of your chart. And it just like, this woman wants to empower other people to be warriors. That is like one of your biggest life callings. So talk to us, tell us about how you do that and where you do that. And yeah.
No, I
resonate with you.
I'm sorry.
I said, does that resonate with you?
Yes, I love that. I don't usually use the word warriors, but I love it. And I think we all have that feeling now that women are really stepping into our power and supporting one another. I know there's been a lot of great work and groundwork being laid, for a while on this stuff, but it seems that it's really coming to a head now. And yeah, people seek me out, which is really fantastic because I'm a projector in human design. So it's nice. People are like, it's you and I want to work with you. And I have my sort of way, I'm sort of one of those people when they're like, oh, be authentic. It's like, I'm very authentic. Like, that's not my thing. It's like, maybe a little
Are you
mask,
sure?
put on a couple clothes, a couple pieces of clothing. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
I'm the other way. I'm like a wild creature. And I like to dive in super deep, and I like to push everything right to the edge. Yes. So I still am on planet Earth. I'm not an ungrounded coach, but I really push things. So yeah, I like the warrior.
I don't know
what
anyone
do you
else.
do?
I was going to say, I don't know of anyone else on this podcast who ever pushes anything to like boundaries or any like, that just sounds so weird to me.
I don't believe you.
Yeah. First time. So,
all right.
But Megan, what do you do? What is the work that you do?
So I work with high performing women who have a trauma story, usually complex trauma that is holding them back. Yeah. And it's usually come to a point where they understand that it's holding them back now. They've been in therapy and they know that talking about the issue only gets you so far at this point. It's like, let's get into I do somatic work. I do hypnosis. I do a little bit of work with psychedelics, usually very low dose, under medical supervision. And I do mind body medicine. And I also just do a lot of leadership coaching. And, I have over 20 years business acumen, entrepreneurship. I'm certified in predictive index. So I've done a lot of like organizational development, DEI stuff.
Yeah.
So real life experience too, not just I took a coaching program and I sit in a room with people, but like I've made real shit happen. I've raised a lot of money, I've been in the game.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow.
Yeah.
That is wild. The fact that you've done all of those things and it's culminated for you into this way. And it sounds like you have a pretty thriving practice, right? You see quite a few different women.
Yes, I need a big hug and a week vacation. I just opened my second location, which sounds so badass and it feels really, really right. So I'm just, I just keep stepping and stepping. And as you all know, I work with spirit. So
yeah, I
keep asking and they just keep telling me like, go. And I'm like, really? Like, I feel like I'm always a little trepidatious now. I'm like, oh God, I don't want to do that yet. I'm not ready. But spirit's like, go. So I've just been going and it's pretty scary. I mean, honestly, but but I do trauma work. So I expect to be scared on a daily basis. And it's
Right.
good ego, like destruction too. Cause you know, I'm 5'1". So sometimes I'm like, I didn't mean to be so loud, but I'm small. So you know, I'm like, why am I so loud?
When do you feel like it was, really pivotal for you of like stepping onto this path to kind of get into this space and this work?
Yeah, I know, that's great, Cass. So when COVID hit, and as a projector, right, I needed to wait for that invitation. I was getting my ass kicked in corporate. I was just like overgiving, like really working hard, banging on the door. I was doing cool stuff. I spoke at Microsoft. I had a men's group. It was awesome. But people started coming to me with deeper issues. And I was like, okay, I need to really step into what I'm supposed to be doing, not just leadership work, but leadership work from a deeper place.
Yeah. I feel like you probably have so many stories, but do you have any that you could share of like just some amazing experiences that you've had with any of your clients?
Yeah, I love that. Well, let me think. Yeah, I won't do anything like heavy mental health because I really want to kind of leave that to the professional, licensed therapist. I like a few of my ladies who, haven't cried in 7 years, haven't felt anything in 15 years, have been on pharmaceuticals, which I think there's a time and a place for sure for pharmies, but who have gracefully gotten off of things because they wanted to feel again. And now they can access their emotions and their feelings, and they can show up for their partner, their lover in a way that's more wholesome. Like, this is who I really am, and this is how I feel, even if it's shit and challenging. It's nice to bring your whole self to the party. So that's the kind of thing. I have about 3 women who are graduating right now, and they've all had a very similar story around not crying.
Interesting. So what got you interested in incorporating plant medicine in small doses into your practice?
Yeah, no, that's great. So I do ketamine, which is obviously not plant medicine, but is a very beautiful molecule.
Yeah, it is.
And yeah, it's really transformative. And then I use a small amount of cannabis, which is very popular. People aren't as afraid of it. And then psilocybin. And so I do a little ceremony work with it. And then I do like my clinical work. And sometimes I blend it. It depends on where the client's at and what type of sort of medicine they need, I guess. But yeah, I just took a course in it. And I have had my own practice. I guess I started this stuff when I was like 15. So I have my own.
You can't say anything our listeners haven't heard before. We've talked about
You're like, go further. Right?
Our dirty laundry is on all out there.
I literally said I wasn't called to meth in one of our podcasts. So
I was going to bring that up. I'm so glad you did, Jane.
It's one of our favorite things that Jane has ever said.
I'm like telling all about my acid journey, my Molly journey, and then I'm like, I wasn't called to meth. So yeah, you
that
can't.
Was the only podcast we had to record though, because it was, if it's censored, spirit doesn't flow as well as she should. So we had to re-record that one because we're like, that podcast was awkward. Not everything was being said.
So. I love it. It's so cool.
So no shame in your first experience at 15. Welcome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really great. I love that all the different, like as you're talking, I'm thinking about Cass's work with people and how she comes from that shaman that place of being a shaman, or I start with the scaffolding kind of your birth chart, and you're starting with they just love that. You said somatic and then hypnosis and your own experiences in being a leader or being in an environment that's really hard to be soft and vulnerable and feminine. So that's really cool. Love that.
Yeah, I love it. And I know you're doing very similar work, Cass.
Yeah, in a different light though, which is what I love about it. Like there's not, it's funny because you're like, yeah, I work with like high powered women. I'm like, I work with old white men. It's just kind of interesting and kind of, there's like so many parallels, and it's so funny because I feel like in this space, it's really easy to get competitive really quickly. like, which is so weird to me in the spiritual space of like, oh, well, we both do plant medicine, or, oh, well, you do ketamine and I do psilocybin. Like, come on, like that's gross.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of interesting to like, it's similar, but it's also so freaking different.
So different.
So, which is important, I think, from a spiritual lens of like, you said it immediately when we pressed record, is like, you call in your exact people, they seek you out, which I love. Like, I feel like if everyone took that dose of medicine of like, I have my exact people who will come find me for who I am, like the world and the healer space and the females in the healer space especially would be very, very different. Podcast.
Yeah, no, I love it. I feel like trusting too, like really trusting that information when you get it, when you meet someone and you resonate with them and being like, all right, I'm just going to make this happen. Or if I recently went against my inner wisdom, I was like, well, this guy's really close. So I was like, and I need to practice this technique. So I was like, I'm going to go to this guy. And I was like, I had a bad feeling. Not a bad feeling like integrity, but a feeling of like intellectual match. I was like, he ain't got it. And he didn't have it. And I was like, damn it, why didn't I listen? Why do I override that stuff for like efficacy? like hell no, it's not efficient. It's not efficient to not listen.
There you go. That's the one quote from the podcast. If you've received nothing else, guys.
It is not efficient to not listen to your intuition.
I feel that deep within my bones. Deep.
That is the quote.
I love that.
You said you have a specific project you're working on right now that you're super excited about. So you should tell us about it.
Hold on.
Drum roll.
We need the shamanic drum. Yeah. So I'm doing my group program, Tools of Light. It's Women's Leadership Tools of Light. And that's going to just be a 3-month program where I'm doing some trauma work and some coaching around building intuition, embodiment practices. It should be super fun and lit up, coming out soon. And then my NFT is live, and that I'm selling a miracle, which is kind of wild. But I have a 98% client success rate through my 6-month program. So the person that purchases the NFT will get my package behind it as a utility. So they have to buy into the belief that we can make the miracle together. And I usually know that at the first meeting, the first interaction. So yeah, that's a kind of a cool, different way to engage.
You have to break down. A lot of people who are listening are not they're not going to understand the NFT space.
What the heck is an NFT?
It's been explained to me a million times because my partner is all into all of that. And I still am like, what the I don't.
So I want you to think of it just like the Cash App is like, it sort of lives in your phone in that little area. So this is like maybe a credit card where you're going to use that one credit card to buy art. And you have a bank that you put your money in, kind of like you go to Starbucks and you have, whatever, $40 on that thing. And you use that credit card just in Starbucks. So this is to buy within crypto and blockchain stuff, which is too big to explain. You basically just use that credit card to buy art. And then you're the owner of that art. And then just like if you owned a piece of art, you can sell it. And as we know, art appreciates value faster than gold. And especially now where it's a shrunken market, it's really a cool time to sort of meet other people who are innovating and living outside of the boxes, right? And I'm like, ooh, I'm going to meet really cool people that are like doing things that are really forward thinking. And like we talked about before record, I really like the idea of empowering women financially. And I think that that's just something that's really resonant to me and very sexy. It's like, swing or whatever, female hard on. I'm like, wait, let's like do this, right? Yeah, I just want to have, right? Like when you can help your girls make money and when you're making money, you just feel better. And I think that the system as we have it right now really sucks because it knows that by disempowering our access to finances, that it really puts a bind on our energy. And fuck that, right? Like we need to go through that. And so I think crypto is a place we need to move in fast, organize as females, or I should probably say woman. I don't know what's any longer correct, but we break rules.
You can say whatever you want to say. We don't, you use whatever happy words you want to use. And
I can't keep up anymore.
If someone chooses to be offended, fuck them.
Okay.
That's a choice. You can choose to be offended or not. You can choose to see the best in someone or not.
I love it. I love it. This is the Wild Style podcast.
Really is. Our listenership is either, I'm going to listen to every episode and just absolutely love you, or I'm going to listen to one episode and be completely offended and never listen to you again and rate you negatively and block you.
Never. That's okay. And block you. Block. I don't know how you do that, but I'm doing that.
This podcast.
All right. I love it.
I have a question for you, because I think it's really interesting how you're talking about empowering women. Do you only work with individuals for your NFT, or have you worked with groups? Have you worked with couples?
Yeah. So pre-pandemic, I was doing a lot of group work. I was doing a lot of corporate training and public speaking. I'm certified corporate trainer, all that jazz. But so it's been the past 3 years, just one-on-one work. So that's why I have that heavy duty client success rate. I have my systems very thorough, tested. The process is smooth. Now I'm like, okay, now we move to group.
Okay.
Right. It's time. I can only do so much. I can only help so many people, kind of story that every entrepreneur hits. So now I'm like, okay. And people have been asking me, and I'm like, I don't want to do that. Don't make me grow. So now I'm like, all right, put on those pants, and come out with the BDE.
Yes. Yep. Or TPE, baby. Tight pussy energy. Okay?
Yes. All right.
It was like episode 6 of, that was like forever ago. That was the episode that we almost didn't air.
Truth. Jade's really embarrassed whenever we mentioned it, because she got wild.
Oh my God. Well, I was mispronouncing Kegels and Klegels and saying it all sorts of ways wrong.
It was the best.
What was the best?
She knows.
But yeah, that all leads to the TPE for sure. And I love that. I also love, as you're just talking, how you have these full circle moments. So you're starting in this big corporate world with big groups and public speaking, and then you just shut everything down and get granular and start working one-on-one with women, empowering them. And then you're like, now it's time to expand again. So it's just like expand, contract, and that's the way of the universe, I think.
Yeah. We just dance to the music.
Yeah.
And I like that it's a little scary, and like, okay, now I have to sort of like almost relearn how to take the package and deliver it to within a group. And, it's a different container, it's a bigger container, but there's almost that group momentum that everybody vibes with everyone. And it's not even about me as much as it's right. I am holding the space, when I'm not holding the space so small. I'm holding I don't know. Yeah. So we'll see. I think I'm going to grow with this. Probably not height, maybe this way, but I don't know. As a human being, I know I'm always shrinking and expanding. So
I think the height thing, that ship has sailed. I don't think you can really count on any more inches up. But
I have seen some of her pictures when she public speaks, though, and there's some shoes on that girl. So
yeah, I do the high wedge. People are always like, when they meet me in real life, they're like, "Wow, you're so small in real life." I'm like, I know. I know.
You're like, my personality is big enough, though. Okay.
Yeah, it's like Prince. I mean, I can't really compare myself to Prince, but
sure you can.
I might have guessed, but why not? That's what I heard about him anyways. They're like, huge personality.
Well, on that, what symbol would you be? I mean, if we're gonna go there, let's fucking go there.
Oh, I love that. I love that. So he actually asked to come through in my sessions recently. I was like, all right.
Oh, yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Right. Like, so he was I don't know if he qualifies as an ascended master, but I think we can probably say he was.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. So I don't know, Cassandra, what symbol would I be? Do I get to like share that symbol? I have no idea.
I guess so. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Prince has never come through for me. I'm like, that's
symbol?
kind of cool. But to me, it says you need a fucking stage.
I need a symbol. I don't know what it would be. I don't know.
Maybe your symbol is the stage. Like, he's calling you out onto that stage.
Oh, little mic. I'll just have the symbols, this little mic.
I mean, so your moon is in Leo, and her moon in Leo is in the 5th house that Leo rules. So this is like extra big stage energy.
Yeah, I'm more comfortable on a stage in front of a lot of people than I am. I like 5 people makes me really uncomfortable. Like I have social anxiety. but I can get on live TV and my heart rate does not increase. I can get in front of thousands of people and it doesn't increase. I'm like, something is wrong with me.
No.
Like, I mean, like,
No, you're like,
You're
no,
exactly who you're supposed to be.
my
Yeah,
moon is in
love-
Leo
yeah.
in the 5th house, and my rising is in Aries. So just like, yeah.
I think
That's
my rising is Aquarius. No, I don't know. Is it Aries? My south node is Aries.
Your south node is Aries. I have written down here, don't make me look up your chart. Now I'm going to look it
I'm
up.
pretty sure I'm Aquarius rising. Yeah. I'm pretty,
You would know. I'm
that
going off
I
of
know.
notes that I jotted down.
It's all good though. It's all good. Your reading was really powerful. If any of the listeners are like, help me figure out the shape of my inner personality and psyche and what I'm supposed to be doing, definitely get a session with Jade. It was so right on with everything that's happening. And like, oh yeah, I needed that reminder of like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing.
Oh, I love that. Thank you, Megan.
Yeah, girl.
You're not wrong.
And no, not at
She's
all.
gifted. So
Yeah.
gifted.
Ain't fucking going anywhere.
Yeah, well, that's beautiful. I loved everything you had to share, and my mind is literally I'm stuck on that NFT thing again, and I'm like, I need to go back and figure that out. That whole new world that we're in. I think that you're right.
You own Bitcoin, don't you?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, my partners introduced me to that world, and it is, I think, the future, and we need to be able to kind of bridge what's coming in the future with spirit. I mean, that's the whole like point of the work that we're doing, creating a bridge. Technology isn't going anywhere. We need to be able to utilize it for power good.
Are you going to do another NFT, Megan?
I am. I'm doing a series. So they're sort of like tarot cards.
Mm-hmm.
They're
Ooh.
portraits, and I'm doing, it's sort of like performance art. Like I'm putting on all sorts of things and I'm following the, almost like the tools of the shaman.
Mhm.
So I had this really cool dream that I'm supposed to share the story of the earth.
Mhm.
Or sing the song. It said, sing the song of the story of the earth. And these totems like fell down. I feel like I told you this story when we talked. It was like,
Yep. I remember pieces of that. Yeah.
like it's, when you get those dreams, like we have these little like dreams and we're like, oh, and then we have these ones that you're like, oh, whoa, something just came through that I have to like change my life. So I drew it and I have it on my fridge so that every day I'm like, this is the next song I teach. So I don't know if that's what it is, but I've been told that this is what I'm supposed to do. And I was like, I don't know anything about NFTs. Like, what do you mean? So here I'm going. And yeah, so I at least am going to do 3. So it'll be a limited series. And then if they, if they sell, they move, people are resident with it, which I have no idea yet, really. People mostly give me dirty looks and stuff, which I'm like, I must be doing something right. Because at least it elicits a response, right? It's not boring. But yeah, so I'm going to at least do 3 and then we'll see. And I was even thinking about having guest, kind of art performers that want to dress up as like a shamanic entity, which would be something like a tree god or a higher being energy. And I'm just using my imagination as to what those all look like. Yeah.
That's super
That's
cool. I love
cool.
that.
Very cool.
Yeah. Why not, right? I think it's good to make art.
Oh, 100%. I mean, creation is literally what we're here to do.
Big time.
You're just doing it on a web platform earlier than most right now, which is super fucking cool. And I'm super proud of you.
Mhm.
Yay, I love that. Thanks. Well, cool. Well, I really want to support you all too. I feel like this podcast is really powerful because we are so often just sort of like, belittle and, behave and don't
Behave, be proper. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And we're like really wild and naughty and we love to misbehave. And it seems that it only happens in sister circles, right? Where you can actually just be a total badass and be like, no, I fucking demand respect and power. My power wants to be seen. And I think that still doesn't happen in most sister circles, right? It's still like we're all sort of behaving and who's who and who do you know? And are you dressed well? And all the fucking niceties or whatever they are, they're not niceties, but I just don't really like that feeling. Like, I mean, I would rather behave with like people that I have no idea how to behave with. And then it's like an interesting challenge. But if I can like read that the room is just like, oh, we're just trying to sum you up. Can you help me grow? Like people that are climbers, which I think in the female space in Boston anyways, which I think is quite small. Boston is an itty bitty city. There's just a lot of that vibe of like, what can you do for me? And I think that's probably the same in LA, New York anyway, right? But I just can't play that game. Like, it's just like, get out of here with that. Right? Like, right? Like you're either authentically like helping people and not to get power, but because you can help people or you have some power or harnessing of your power, but not to get somewhere. I don't know how you all feel about that, but I think within Sister Circle,
Right on.
there's an elevating that needs to happen now that we've like been through some shit. We all know each other. Like who's naming that space?
The good news is that's shifting and changing, I think, right now. Like some of the stuff that you're talking about, you start to feel like the incongruence in those circles when that's not happening.
Yeah.
So people are quickly exiting like stage right to like go find something new, which I feel like our conversations, and then, you know, our conversation between you and I, Megan, too, like that's more of what we're all going to collectively and all seeking collectively. So we're just a little early to the party.
I love it.
I feel like too, there is this kind of mass empowering of both men and women to just say and be who they are. And if they're in a space where they can't do that, to leave. Like you're not stuck. There are other ways you can get out. You can, if you're in a circle of people that don't make you feel good, you can leave that circle and find a new circle that makes you feel good. So I feel like Casa, there's this shift happening, but unfortunately it can't just happen overnight. And so those places still exist that it's like, like, this is not good. This is not for me. Like,
yes.
You know, Jade and her little glitches that she used to have. It's like, you're in this space and you're like, glitch, I don't fit here.
They're referring to me when I was trying to be a good cult member, and sometimes my reel would come out, so it literally felt like I was like I couldn't like play the game. I was trying really, really hard to wear that kind of face and be that certain way, but I just couldn't make myself. And yeah, I think that's happening more and more across the board, where when you're trying to wear the right thing and look the right way, it's like, feels like you're a Stepford wife or something, and it just doesn't work anymore.
Yeah,
all I can think of is music coming through of like Age of Aquarius. Like those songs are written, I don't know, like in the 60s, but I'm like, oh God.
This is the dawning of
the age.
I wanted to say too that, Caitlin, I'm glad you mentioned men, because I don't know how you all feel about, I just feel like, you know, here we are moving into the Age of Aquarius now, and we're like, okay, so women will lead, and we've known this for some time, but the men, I feel in some circles of women, I've noticed that we're dissing men a lot sometimes, right? And I think that there's that happens naturally, but I also think we don't want to do what they did to us, and I don't think we will. But because women lead very differently. But I can see that there's sort of like a new wound being created where powerful women can very easily run over men. And I think that it's nice to find ways to work together, right? And I don't know the answer to that, of course, like how do we work together? But don't you think?
Absolutely.
Yeah, we could talk for another whole podcast just about that. It would be great.
No, it's so true. And I feel like men that are really living in their feminine are not threatened by women that are powerful, and they if anything, they're like, hell yeah, do it, that's right. Like it doesn't, you know. And so you can see, because there are men that live in their feminine or have embraced their feminine sides, you can see those that are living in that toxic masculinity, and it makes them look even smaller. It's like, oh, you poor thing, you're so small. Like it doesn't have to be like that. You can be big too. Like you can empower women and still be a big person.
One of the phrases that I've said to these two, like for weeks now, is that toxic masculinity can't survive in a high divine feminine environment. It just basically goes away. They either go to divine masculine or they just go trauma response and start the process, rinse and repeat over again. So I think that's kind of one of the things that we're starting to see the shift.
I want that in a graph. I want that in like a visual where you can be like, now you go here, then you do this. If you don't do it, you're going to go back.
It's the only two choice. Yeah. It's, you know, red pill, blue pill.
Yeah, no, it's good. And I think being in their divine masculine, right? Which I think you said, Cass, it's like really being a strong masculine force, I think is the most attractive thing. Like I was going to say super fucking sexy. It has to be both. Yeah, you have to have that yummy masculine, like strong enough to stand up for themselves or speak their truth, and then open to the fact that the wisdom comes through the feminine, and they have that access, so then they can access to our wisdom. I can't stand, you all know it, just when a man just shuts down the idea that we have intuition. It's like, oh, you don't even know that yet? Like, right? Like, what?
You have it too, friend, if you're just open to it.
Right. Yeah. So it's going to get interesting, and I'm all for it. Right. I feel like it's time for like big prayer work. Like, let's all be praying. Like, let's all hold what we want in, you know, in our mind, in that powerful mind of ours, because they're trying to make us afraid and fear each other and not love each other, not love ourselves. And yeah, it's like, to me, it's like the biggest work is like just being like, let's focus on what's good and what we can do. And I don't know how you feel, but I feel like that's all I can do. Like, I feel like it's a big thing to do, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Amazing. So I'm sure the listeners are going to want to know, where can they find you, where they can connect with you, where can they buy your NFT and do all the things in Megan's world.
Yeah, thanks, Cass. So my office is in Cambridge, Mass and Hingham, Mass. I now have 2 locations. My website is ammahuman.com, AMMA just like I'm a human, and Amma, which is mother goddess human. And I'm on all of the social channels. Look up either I'm a Human or Megan Marini. And the NFT is only on Foundation, which is a very art-centric space. And you can reach out if you want more information on any of the work that I do.
Amazing. Do you work with people online too?
Not as much, but the group coaching is going to be, what am I saying? Group coaching is going to be all online. And my current work is about 90% in person.
Awesome. So regardless of where they are, they can come and find you and be in a container with you, which is awesome.
Yes. Yeah, let's create gorgeous containers. Thank you, ladies, so much for having me on. You're all so amazing. It's such a blast.
Yeah, thank you. Fun conversation.
Yeah.
Well, that was fun. I love that interview, and just the conversation was so easy and flowy and expansive all at once.
Yeah. It's so beautiful. I feel like to have conversations with people that just kind of get it and resonate. And I mean, we're 2 for 2 now. Like, this is fun.
I know. And we have some amazing people coming up, because I have another woman that I'm meeting in a couple of hours here and then scheduling. And I've already seen her chart. So I've already seen that she's just this magnificent human, and we have so many good conversations coming up for everyone. So I'm excited about that.
That's awesome. One of my favorite things that Megan said that I actually jotted down when she was talking was like the feeling and expansionness of like the whole range of emotions and like bringing your whole self to the party. I was like, oh my God, I feel like that's what we just finally like uncovered and dug up while we were together. So it just cued the conversation like so beautifully from the intro to the pod, like the guest to like now me coming full circle and being like, oh my God, it's working. So,
oh God,
no big deal.
Love it. Tired.
Sorry, I'm not bored. There was a lot of energetic drain the last 3 days that we were together.
Yeah.
So I feel like I'm like,
you guys, I was more like, when I came home from the ayahuasca ceremony, I was not prepared for feeling like completely out of touch when I go like out in public and stuff. Like, where am I? Like, oh, I felt like that when I came back from Savannah, like that intense. Like we did like 2 years of work together in 3 days.
Yeah.
I do think we need to tell them about your little board and the letter D, and that can be our closing piece of the podcast, because the letter D is now holding an even more special place in all of our hearts.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
I have never used a Ouija board for the last several years, not because I didn't, it's no longer evil by any stretch of the imagination, but
it hasn't called her.
Yeah, it just hasn't called me. So I got a Ouija board that's kind of like it almost looks like a mouse pad, right? One of those old fashioned mouse pads. So I bought that so I could roll it up and bring it home, travel Ouija board. So we decided to go ahead and use it together, and we all put our hands on it. And all we could get was the letter D.
We got some other things, but when we kept asking them what they were there to share with us,
yeah,
it was just D.
And you had you had a pen and a piece of paper, and you kept writing D, like you were waiting for other letters so you could spell a word, and it just kept saying.
It was like D, and then it was like E, and then back to D, and then it was like R,
and back
to D, and then finally it was just like D.
So we made a list.
D.
So we thought immediately of our podcast episode about the D. We're like, what other D's are in our life besides Dick, Claritin D, and vitamin D? And then we got the word that we're supposed to continue on the wounds, because we've been talking about wounds all day. And so we just started saying, and pretty much every wound in our life, both the collective, starts with a D. So
fuck that letter.
We're like, that was the right letter, from disconnect to doctors to my ex's name to my biological father's name to my D.
Dentistry.
What else? What are some of the other D's?
Diabetes.
Dad, deception, David, doctors, DNC, death, daily, and then downloads, data. And then what was really funny is we didn't even get the fact that all of these things were disconnections from self until the next morning when I looked over at Kaylin and I was like, I think it means disconnected. Like it took.
No, she rolled over and she goes, eyes are closed. We're so dumb. We didn't think of disconnection. And then she goes, I'm done. And then rolls back over.
As you continue to say letters that start with D, dumb, done.
I also said duh.
Duh. And I was like, damn.
Oh my goodness. Apparently our computer's kicking us off. We've said too much. So
oh God.
That's enough for this podcast, I guess. We will end on the letter. I feel like the count, or what is it? Not the count. Who's the one on Sesame Street who's like, today's letter of the day is? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes. Who is that?
My mother would know. My brother loved Sesame Street. Who is the letter?
Anyway, this episode is sponsored by the letter
D.
And we are done.
Done.